For almost 2 decades, the world of football revolved around three extraordinary men. They were more than superstars, they were more than champions. They became the symbol of rivalry, passion, greatness, and dreams. Every stadium echoed with their names. Every generation grew up watching them create moments that felt impossible. And now, as the world prepares for another World Cup, one truth hangs quietly in the air. This could be the final time we witness them together. Under the roaring skies of America, before millions of fans across the planet, three legends prepare to walk onto football's biggest stage one last time. Not as rising stars, not as young kings, but as warriors standing at the edge of history. Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, and Lionel Messi. The three stories that changed football forever. They came from three different worlds. One grew up on the islands of Madeira, where poverty shaped his hunger. One emerged from the streets of Brazil, where football was played with rhythm and joy. And one arrived from Rosario, Argentina, carrying a gift that almost looked unnatural. Different beginnings, different personalities. Yet somehow all these ended up ruling the same era. An entire generation grew up with these people. Children copied their celebrations. Posters of their faces covered bedroom walls. Friends argued endlessly over who was the greatest. But beyond the trophies and the statistics, these men became symbols. Cristiano Ronaldo became the face of obsession. A footballer built entirely through discipline, sacrifice, and an almost frightening desire to win. Neymar became football's last true entertainer, a player who played with freedom, emotion, and the soul of a street footballer. And Messi became something else entirely. Not just a footballer, not just a superstar, but a phenomenon. Together, they carried football into a new age. And it all began in 2006. That World Cup introduced the world to a young Cristiano Ronaldo, fast, explosive, and fearless. Back then, Portugal still belonged to legends like Luis Figo, but it was already clear that a new leader was arriving. Year after year, Ronaldo evolved, not through magic, but through hard work. Every weakness in his game disappeared one by one. The skinny winger became a machine built for greatness. By 2014, Portugal wasn't just a national team anymore. It was Ronaldo against the world. And then came Russia, 2018. Under the lights of Sochi, Ronaldo produced one of the greatest performances in World Cup history against Spain. The hat-trick, the free kick, the roar of the crowd. It felt immortal. But football never gives fairy tale endings easily. In Qatar 2022, Ronaldo faced something he had rarely experienced before: doubt. For the first time in his career, the world questioned whether football had moved on without him. He started matches on the bench. Portugal looked towards a younger generation. And when Morocco eliminated Portugal, the image of Ronaldo walking through the tunnels in tears became one of the defining moments of the tournament. A man who had conquered almost everything, suddenly powerless against time itself. But Ronaldo's story has never been about comfort. It has always been about survival. Every setback in his career only created another comeback. And now, perhaps for one last time, he prepares for one last attempt at completing the only dream still missing from his legacy. Then there is Neymar. Maybe no player of his generation carried beauty and pain in equal measure the way he did. Football came naturally to him. The dribbling, the movement, the creativity, everything about Neymar felt effortless. When he arrived, Brazil believed he had found the next global superstar after Pelé. And for a moment, it truly felt that way. By 2014, Neymar had become the face of an entire generation. Brazil expected him to deliver glory on home soil. But football can be merciless. A single challenge changed everything. Neymar collapsed in pain against Colombia, and suddenly Brazil's dream collapsed with him. Days later came the humiliation against Germany, a wound that still lives in Brazilian football history. Injuries followed Neymar throughout his career like a shadow. Every World Cup brought hope and every World Cup brought heartbreak. But despite everything, Neymar never stopped fighting. In Qatar, he returned once again carrying pain in his ankle and pressure on his shoulder. And against Croatia, he reminded the world of his genius. Through exhausted defenders and fading hope, Neymar produced a moment of pure brilliance, a goal that should have become immortal. Instead, Brazil fell on penalties. And once again, Neymar was left crying on the pitch while another dream disappeared in front of him. His career became a story of what could have been, but also a story of resilience. Because no matter how many times football broke him, Neymar always found a way to return smiling. And finally, Lionel Messi. For years, football searched for the next Diego Maradona. Then, Messi arrived. At first, he looked too small, too quiet, too fragile. And once the game began, none of that mattered. The ball moved differently around him. By 2010, he was already considered the best player in the world. Yet one thing always haunted him: the World Cup. Every failure with Argentina increased the pressure around him. In 2014, Messi came painfully close. He carried Argentina to the final. He produced magical moments throughout the tournament. But in the end, one goal from Mario Götze destroyed the dream. The image of Messi staring at the World Cup trophy after the final became iconic. It looked like a man watching his destiny slip away. By 2018, the burden looked unbearable. Argentina struggled. Messi looked exhausted. For the first time, people wondered if the greatest player of his generation would retire without football's biggest prize. And then came Qatar. One final chance. But this time, Messi looked different. Calmer, lighter, almost at peace. Match after match, he carried Argentina forward. Goals, assists, leadership, everything led to that final in Lusail Stadium. And there, under the golden lights of the desert, Messi finally completed football itself. When he lifted the World Cup wearing that black badge of Qatar, it felt larger than sport. It felt like history reaching its perfect ending. Now, all three stand at the finish line. Ronaldo chasing one last miracle, Neymar chasing redemption, Messi walking without pressure for the first time in his life. Three legends, three stories, and one final World Cup. And when that final whistle eventually blows, an era of football finally disappears with them.